a licensed therapist and a horror fan, and welcome to Horror Hysteria, where I look at relationships between mental health and horror and basically psychology behind scary stuff. So one thing that I've decided to do is to, while I'm going to look at individual movies, specifically movies and shows and books and things like that, is I also want to look at overall themes. And so there are some classic things that are included in horror pretty commonly over and over again. Things that we know work, so they're then used. But why do some of them work? That's something that I am interested in and I'm wondering. So today we're going to talk about children in horror and why that is such an effective piece of horror stories. So the reason why kids are scary is, in these circumstances, they represent different things. So there's some children that are the ones who, like the children who are noticing something's wrong, like there is supernatural things afoot, because kids are more receptive to those things and are more open to the idea that these things are happening compared to adults. So sometimes they're like the first person to say something about weird stuff going on, and people are like, no, and then then stuff ends up popping off. Children can be protagonists or antagonists, and so when they're an antagonist, that is usually based on their chaotic nature. Because if you think about kids, not every kid, but a lot of kids, they're pretty chaotic. They don't have great emotional regulation. They make impulsive decisions. They're not going to think things through. They're very self-focused, which is all normal parts of development. But if you take that and give that some sort of superhuman powers or some sort of scary demon possession or something, I think that makes it more alarming for people, because because of the unpredictability and the chaotic nature and the ability to kind of act without some level of empathy sometimes and things like that. Another reason why I found that horror movies often use children in them is because they represent a deep fear that a lot of us have, and a fear of loss of innocence, or that those who are kind of innocent in society, they're vulnerable, they're at risk. And horror tends to broach topics that we in real life have reasonable fear about, honestly. Children are very vulnerable, and so for them to be the ones that whatever it is after, be kind of activating like this parental thing in us, because I think a lot of us, even those who don't want to be parents, we don't want a kid to suffer. We don't want something to happen to them. So it gets at that part of us. I know that in some movies that kids are involved in, I had the hardest time in the world watching them when my daughter was really little. Like I couldn't separate myself from it, and it would just overwhelm me. Better at it now. One quote by Stephen King that I think kind of shows this whole like chaotic energy and the unlimited imagination of children and why they are used in horror so much is that childhood is a secret world that exists by its own rules and lives in its own culture. So ultimately, the reason why kids are used in horror is because they can represent very clearly like the duality of the protagonist and the antagonist. They can be either or both, and it just gets to us differently. It hits some different nerves, and so they tend to be pretty effective in horror movies. All right, well, that's all for today. Ask me any questions if you have them. Leave me some comments, subscribe, and until next time, be nice to yourself and others.